We would like to play.
They called it corporate suicide. In 2012, Nintendo, the company that invented modern gaming, that turned a plumber into a global icon worth more than Mickey Mouse, that printed money with the Wii, was dying. Their stock had crashed 80%. Third-party developers were fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. The gaming press was writing obituaries. Sony and Microsoft executives were privately celebrating. Everyone knew Nintendo was finished. Except they weren't. What happened next became the greatest comeback in entertainment history. A resurrection so complete, so devastating to their competitors, that it rewrote the rules of the entire industry. This is the story of how Nintendo went from losing $450 million to generating $15 billion in profit. How they turned their biggest failure into their greatest success, and how three men in Kyoto, Japan pulled off the impossible while the entire world was betting against them. But to understand the miracle, you first need to understand the disaster. And the disaster started with arrogance. In 2006, Nintendo was untouchable. The Wii had just launched, and it wasn't just successful, it was a cultural phenomenon. While Sony's PS3 launched at $599 and struggled to find buyers, the Wii, at $249, was selling out everywhere. Grandmothers were playing Wii bowling. Hospitals were using Wii Fit for physical therapy. The Queen of England was reportedly spotted playing Wii tennis at Buckingham Palace. The numbers were staggering. 101 million units sold, making it the fifth best-selling console of all time. Nintendo's market cap hit $85 billion, briefly making them more valuable than Sony. Their blue ocean strategy, avoiding direct competition by creating new markets, seemed unbeatable. While Sony and Microsoft fought over hardcore gamers, Nintendo had captured everyone else.
Satoru Iwata, Nintendo's CEO, had transformed from the programmer who saved HAL Laboratory from bankruptcy into gaming's most beloved executive. He personally took pay cuts when the three Decisicans stumbled. He appeared in Nintendo Direct presentations with bananas and puppets. He understood something his competitors didn't. Gaming wasn't about processing power, it was about joy. The money was ridiculous. In 2008, Nintendo was more profitable than the top 20 Hollywood studios combined. They were generating $6 billion in operating income, more than Sony's entire electronics division. The DS was simultaneously dominating handhelds with 154 million units sold. Nintendo owned gaming, and that's exactly when they started making the mistakes that would nearly destroy them.
Hey, it's time to watch some baseball.
Okay.
And a runner on second. Hernandez is on the mound, and here comes the 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. 98-mile-per-hour fastball. Hernandez throws a 3-2 pitch.
June 7, 2011. E3, Los Angeles, the gaming world's biggest stage. Nintendo was about to reveal their next console, the successor to the phenomenal Wii. Rumors had been swirling for months. Would it be 4K? Would it have revolutionary new motion controls? Would it finally match PlayStation and Xbox in power? Iwata walked on stage and unveiled confusion. The Wii U. Even the name was a disaster. Was it a new console or a Wii accessory? The centerpiece was the gamepad, a controller with a 6.2-inch touchscreen that looked like someone had duct-taped an iPad to a traditional controller. The presentation focused entirely on this gamepad, barely showing the actual console. Journalists in the audience were literally asking each other, "Is this the new console or just a controller?" Nintendo's marketing department had committed the cardinal sin. They'd confused their own customers. Internal documents later revealed that even Nintendo's marketing team was divided on how to explain what the Wii U actually was. Focus groups showed that 60% of consumers thought it was a $349 accessory for their existing Wii. But the confusion was just the beginning. The real problems ran deeper. The gamepad's technology was a Frankenstein's monster of compromises. To keep costs down, Nintendo used a resistive touchscreen, the same technology in 2004 Palm Pilots, while every smartphone had moved to capacitive multi-touch. The screen resolution was 480p in an era when phones had 720p displays. The battery life was 5 hours. The range was limited to 26 feet from the console. The price? $349 for the deluxe edition, only $50 less than a PlayStation 4 that was 10 times more powerful. Here's where Nintendo's arrogance became fatal. They assumed the Wii's 100 million customers would automatically upgrade. They assumed third-party developers would figure out creative uses for the gamepad. They assumed the Nintendo brand was bulletproof. They were wrong about everything. The Wii U launched on November 18, 2012, in North America. Nintendo projected 5.5 million sales by March 2013. The actual number? 3.45 million. By January, major retailers were already cutting prices. By February, developers were cancelling games. By March, the death spiral had begun.
The numbers were brutal. In the Wii U's first January, it sold 57,000 units in the entire United States. The original Wii had sold 435,000 in the same period. The PlayStation 2, a console from 2000, outsold the brand new Wii U. But the real catastrophe was happening behind the scenes. Third-party developers were fleeing en masse, and their reasons revealed Nintendo's deepest problems. Electronic Arts, who had appeared on stage at E3 calling the Wii U the best console for sports games, canceled all support after their launch titles bombed. Their Madden NFL 13 on Wii U sold 42,000 copies. The Xbox 360 version sold 4.5 million. The problem wasn't just sales, it was Nintendo's entire approach to third parties. Developers revealed horror stories, development kits arriving months late, documentation only in Japanese, Nintendo refusing to provide basic sales data, online infrastructure that was literally a decade behind PlayStation and Xbox.
The Rayman Legends disaster became symbolic of Nintendo's third-party crisis. Ubisoft had developed the game exclusively for Wii U, showcasing the gamepad's unique features. 2 weeks before launch, with the game complete and ready to ship, Ubisoft made it multi-platform and delayed it 7 months. Why? The Wii U install base was so small that an exclusive release would guarantee financial failure. By January 2013, Nintendo was forced to slash their sales forecast from 5.5 million to 4 million. By April, Iwata was apologizing to investors. By July, Nintendo posted their first operating loss in 30 years. $366 million gone. The stock market was merciless. Nintendo's stock price fell from 23,000 yen in 2011 to 8,000 yen in 2013. $40 billion in market value evaporated. Investors were openly calling for Nintendo to abandon hardware and make smartphone games. Mario on iPhone became a rallying cry at shareholder meetings. The gaming community was even more brutal. The Wii U became a punchline. Memes spread of the gamepad being used as a dinner tray, a dust collector, a very expensive Netflix machine. YouTube videos titled "The Death of Nintendo" racked up millions of views. The hashtag Nintendo Doomed trended regularly. Major gaming websites ran features asking, should Nintendo go third-party like Sega? Even Nintendo fans were losing faith. The Nintendo subreddit was filled with posts about switching to PlayStation. The unthinkable was being thought. Maybe Nintendo didn't understand gaming anymore. Inside Nintendo's Kyoto headquarters, panic was setting in. Anonymous employees later revealed the atmosphere was funeral-like. Projects were being canceled daily. The company that never laid off employees was discussing restructuring. The proud Japanese executives were considering the ultimate shame, admitting defeat. But Satoru Iwata refused to give up. In a legendary investor meeting, when asked about going mobile, he responded, "If we did this, Nintendo would cease to be Nintendo." He took a 50% pay cut, the second time he'd done so. Other executives took 20 to 30% cuts. They would fix this with traditional Nintendo values: innovation, quality, and patience. What they didn't know was that salvation was already being built in secret, in a locked room where even most Nintendo employees weren't allowed. In 2013, while the Wii U was dying its very public death, a small team inside Nintendo's Entertainment Planning and Development Division was working on something radical. The project codename was NX. The team was led by Yoshiaki Koizumi, the designer behind Super Mario Galaxy, and a young hardware architect named Ko Shiota. Their mission, handed down directly from Iwata, create a console that solved every single problem that killed the Wii U. The first insight came from studying the Wii U's failures. The gamepad's biggest problem wasn't the screen. It was that you couldn't take it anywhere. People loved off-TV play, but hated being tethered to the console. What if the controller was the console? The second insight came from Nintendo's own success. The 3DS, despite a rocky start, was thriving. Why? Because portable games fit modern lifestyles. People had 15 minutes on a train, not 3 hours on a couch. But portable games commanded lower prices and respect. What if portable and home consoles were the same thing?
The breakthrough came from an unexpected partnership. NVIDIA had developed the Tegra X1 chip for tablets and cars, but the mobile market had rejected it for being too power-hungry. For phones, it was overkill. But for a gaming device, it was perfect. Console-quality graphics in a mobile chip. Nintendo and NVIDIA engineers spent 2 years creating a custom version. The negotiations were brutal. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang later said it was the most challenging partnership we've ever undertaken. Nintendo wanted impossible efficiency. NVIDIA wanted impossible prices. Somehow, they found middle ground. But the real innovation was the Joy-Cons. These weren't just controllers. They were Nintendo's entire philosophy in physical form. Each Joy-Con had an accelerometer, gyroscope, infrared camera, NFC reader, and something called HD rumble. Haptic feedback so precise you could feel ice cubes in a glass. The development was insane.
Nintendo tested 300 different sliding mechanisms for the Joy-Con rails. They spent 6 months perfecting the click sound when attaching them. They tested 50 different button sizes to work for both child and adult hands. The attention to detail was psychotic, and exactly what Nintendo needed.
Simultaneously, Nintendo's software teams were creating ammunition for this secret weapon. The biggest gun? The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This wasn't just a game. It was Nintendo's statement of intent. An open world that rivaled anything on PlayStation or Xbox, but uniquely Nintendo in its design. AGI Aonuma, Zelda's producer, was given unlimited resources and one instruction: make the game that saves Nintendo. The team grew to 300 people, unprecedented for Nintendo. They spent a year just on the physics engine, another year on the cooking system, 4 years total, with a budget exceeding $100 million, Nintendo's most expensive game ever. The marketing team had learned from the Wii U disaster. The name needed to be clear, simple, and convey the core concept instantly. After testing hundreds of names, including Nintendo Duo, Nintendo Link, and bizarrely, Nintendo X-Boy, they landed on perfection: Nintendo Switch. You switch from TV to portable. Simple, clear, brilliant. But the man who started this resurrection wouldn't see it completed. On July 11, 2015, Satoru Iwata died of bile duct cancer at age 55. His final Nintendo Direct, recorded just weeks before his death, showed him holding bananas and making jokes, never revealing his illness. His last words to the development team: "Please, make something that will make people smile." The company was devastated. Iwata wasn't just a CEO, he was Nintendo's soul. Employees wore black armbands. Fans created memorials outside Nintendo stores worldwide. Even Sony and Microsoft lowered their flags to half-mast. Tatsumi Kimishima, the new president, had one mission: honor Iwata's vision and launch the Switch successfully. Failure wasn't just business anymore, it was personal. financial turnaround defied all logic. Nintendo's revenue grew from $4.6 billion in 2016 to $16.6 billion in 2021. Operating profit exploded from $300 million to $5.4 billion. The stock price rose from 8,000 yen to 65,000 yen, an 800% increase that created $120 billion in market value. The Switch's profit margins were extraordinary. While Sony and Microsoft lost money on every console sold, the traditional razor blade model, Nintendo made $40 to $80 profit per Switch from day one. The Joy-Cons, which cost $15 to manufacture, sold for $79. The Pro Controller, costing $12 to make, sold for $69. Nintendo's supply chain management was masterful. While competitors fought over cutting-edge chips that were expensive and scarce, Nintendo used older, proven technology that was cheap and plentiful. During the 2020-2021 chip shortage that crippled PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series production, Switch production barely slowed. The hybrid model created unprecedented software efficiency. Developers only needed to make one version instead of separate console and portable versions. This saved Nintendo $500 million annually in development costs while doubling their software output. The Switch succeeded everywhere. In Japan, it owned 87% of the console market. In America, it consistently outsold PlayStation and Xbox combined during non-launch years. In Europe, markets that had ignored Nintendo for a decade suddenly embraced them again. The demographic reach was unprecedented. 45% of Switch owners were female, compared to 20% for PlayStation. 30% were over 35. 20% were under 18. Nintendo had achieved the impossible, a console that appealed to literally everyone. COVID-19 turned the Switch from a success into a phenomenon. With everyone stuck at home, Switch sales exploded. 2020 saw 28 million units sold, more than the Wii U's lifetime sales. Animal Crossing became the social network of the pandemic, hosting weddings, graduations, and political campaigns. The economics shortage worked in Nintendo's favor. While they could have raised prices, they maintained $299, creating goodwill while scalpers proved people would pay $500. This discipline paid off in brand loyalty that money couldn't buy. In February 2022, the Switch passed 100 million units sold, faster than any console except the Wii. By 2024, it had passed 140 million, making it Nintendo's best-selling home console ever and third best-selling console of all time. The software numbers were even more staggering. 1.2 billion games sold, generating $45 billion in software revenue. First-party titles dominated the charts years after release. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a Wii U port, sold 62 million copies.
The Switch didn't just save Nintendo, it transformed the entire industry. Sony rushed to develop the PlayStation Portal. Microsoft created xCloud streaming. Valve launched the Steam Deck. Everyone was suddenly chasing Nintendo's hybrid vision. The business model shift was profound. Nintendo proved that power wasn't everything, that innovation trumped specifications, that fun was more valuable than photorealism. They showed that a company could be wildly profitable without predatory monetization, without crunch culture, without chasing trends. As of 2024, Nintendo faces a new challenge, following their own success. The Switch 2, rumored for 2025 launch, carries impossible expectations. But Nintendo has learned the crucial lessons: clear marketing, strong launch software, reasonable pricing, respect for developers. Most importantly, remember that gaming is about joy, not technology. Satoru Iwata never saw the Switch's success, but his philosophy drove every decision. His famous quote, "Above all, video games are meant to just be one thing, fun for everyone," wasn't just corporate speak.
It was the strategy that turned Nintendo's greatest failure into their greatest triumph. The numbers tell one story, from $450 million loss to $15 billion profit, from 13 million Wii U units to 140+ million Switch units, from irrelevance to dominance. But the real story is about resilience, about a 135-year-old company that refused to die, about engineers who worked 100-hour weeks to perfect a clicking sound, about developers who spent 4 years making grass that moved realistically, about a CEO who took pay cuts rather than fire employees. Nintendo didn't just come back from failure, they proved that in technology, in business, in life, the only real failure is giving up. They proved that innovation beats imitation, that patience beats panic, that believing in your vision beats following the crowd. The lesson for every entrepreneur, every creator, every dreamer facing their own Wii U moment: your biggest failure might just be the setup for your greatest success. You just have to be brave enough to switch.
Thank you for watching this episode. Remember to share, like, and subscribe for more.